Good morning from beautiful Brisbane, Australia, where most of Australia is probably still asleep because it's a public holiday here. How are you and how's your weekend been? Has it been great? Has it been something where you've had time to have some level of introspection and discover something new about your internal world? My name's Linda. I'm a trauma recovery coach, and I offer this information to you so that you can do your own awareness work of the internal dialogue that's happening, and you can take the information to your healthcare professional and do some work around it, because trauma recovery does involve interpersonal interaction in order that we can experience genuine deep healing, because that's where the trauma happened, was in relationships where we didn't have that safety and security and protection. A lot of protection didn't happen for us. Okay, so this morning I want to talk to you about something that's really important. It's important as adults because as adults we're expected to have, it's an assumption made that we will have this area of our life under control, that it's assumed that we already feel loved and wanted. And so what happens is, as adults, we tend to hide behind our mask, not feeling that we're able to express that we feel unloved or unwanted, because we go, but that doesn't make sense. I'm an adult now. Where's it all coming from? And what happens is, in childhood, the neurobiological aspect of it is that when we experience trauma, and then we experience being repeatedly triggered, our perception, we don't have perception. It goes offline. It's one of the things that go offline. Now, when we talk about our brain going offline, we talk about it I talk about it in reference to like when our computers go offline, things just don't connect, they don't work, even if they're not working in sync, then we can't get access to all the pieces that make it happen for us. So if my computer's offline, I don't get to come online, and if just one part of it doesn't work, then it makes everything come undone. And it's the same with our brain. When one part goes offline, i.e. when we're triggered, from, what's been embedded deep in our brain from childhood, the fear response instead of this is manageable response, then we have a lack of perception. That's just one thing. Perception is really important when it comes to I'm unloved and I'm unwanted, okay? So we need to be aware of that. And when we're aware that our perception is offline, we don't need to give ourselves a hard time that we feel this way. We go, okay, I need to sit down and work at, good morning, Laurel, I need to work at what my perception is in this area. And you can use this for any different area in your life, okay? So that when my brain's offline, my perception of things is going to be totally different to somebody else in the situation. They will see something totally different. And I just had this happen the other night. I got triggered totally out of the blue. And as I was sitting talking to my son about it, I said, you don't understand what I'm saying, do you? And he said, no. And I said, and that's been the story all my life. And then I realised that I needed to sit down and put another view on this in order that I'm able to relate and explain what was happening for me while I was triggered. So it does take time to develop a different perception, but it's worth it. And one of the things that we do is get our brain back on track and working together so that we can look at things in different ways. Our attachment comes into play. So if we have a secure attachment, then obviously we're not going to have issues around feeling unwanted or unloved. A secure attachment, it gets developed in childhood when we know that we are safe. Okay, so we know that our parents protect us, and we know that they're going to return. So unknowingly for me, one of my biggest factors to creating an insecure attachment from childhood was that my parents separated, and then my brother and I were separated, and for, I don't know, let's just say around 3 weeks, I was at my grandparents', my brother was at other relatives, and every day I'd look for my mum. And that was back in the days, which is in my lifetime, when people didn't talk about anything. So I never knew she was coming back. So that lack of protection and that lack of knowing that my parent was going to return or not created that insecure attachment within me. And I can talk to you about it, but we have to be willing to do the inner work in order to have that part of us healed and whole. So we come out of it with lots of misconceptions, okay, close to the word perceptions, misconceptions about ourselves and about our life that impact our adult life. And we really want to be able to pinpoint what's happening for us now. And one of the things that we need to do is listen to our thoughts. Okay, what's happening around this? What can I identify that is mine, that I need to own, and what can I identify is really the truth of what's happening? What is the belief that I'm working with at the moment? And you've got to do belief work in order to change the thoughts and beliefs. Acknowledge what's happening for you, that from the perspective that we have a limited ability to want to connect with others, all right? So we need to be able to be willing to connect with ourselves and to feel good about ourselves and what the elements of our life. And that way we're going to feel good about connecting with other people. So that's a big challenge just in itself, especially because the neurobiological aspect of coming through living with complex trauma is that so much of it says isolate, isolate, run away, isolate. So we have to act against what our internal dialogue is telling us and say, no, I don't need to isolate. I can connect, and I can connect safely. And that's why we do group together. Over in Complex PTSD Recovery Group, we do life together in an emotionally safe environment where we show up for each other. And that is part of retraining our brain and getting the neuroplasticity happening, is that we're having different experiences than what we had in our childhood. So it's invaluable. So then the question becomes, how can you in your day-to-day life turn that around to having different experiences where you are emotionally safe and you do feel protected and you're the one that's protecting you, in order that you can retrain the brain that, no, I'm okay, I am loved and I am wanted. And one of the things that you can do is begin to listen to the people around you who are healthy, not the unsafe people, and who say really kind things about you, and believe them. All right. So we spend a lifetime not believing them, and it doesn't work. So then we say, okay, I'm going to start believing the people that say really nice things about me. Laurel says, I never felt safe, then abandoned completely by my parents in New York City at 13. I so get it. I isolate often. And that's true, Lauren. I'm so sorry that you've been through that, because that's really tough. And what we need to do is act in the opposite way in order to retrain our whole internal system. And we do that by developing, how much am I looking at how much can I connect and feel safe, and then continually stretching that boundary and learning to trust ourselves that we can make healthy decisions for us and we can manage what's happening along the way. Be brave. Start by liking yourself a little. Give yourself permission to like yourself a little, and then find out what a wonderful person you truly are. And it's amazing what happens when we stop listening to all the input from childhood and we begin to say, yeah, maybe I'm not so bad after all. Breathe. Okay, and that helps us get off hyper or hypervigilance as well. When we begin to cast our vote and believe in ourselves first, instead of believing what everybody else around us is saying, or the implied mannerisms of our family that say that the unspoken words that say that in order to fit in, we must do life their way. And no, we don't. We must choose ourselves and our healing and our recovery to remission journey over what other people feel comfortable with. And they will feel uncomfortable, and that's okay. They're adults and they can deal with uncomfortable. Give ourselves permission to be compassionate towards ourselves, not just everyone else. And you think of it this way, when you pick up a baby, the first thing you do, and it doesn't matter who it is, when we pick up that baby, the first thing we do is look in its eyes and go, oh, because they're so beautiful. And that's how we needed to be looked at all our life too by our parents. And if it didn't happen, stand in front of a mirror, be brave, or recognise that you're not quite brave enough yet. Look in that mirror and go, oh, and really feel it. It's not about the look so much. It's about really feeling that deep compassion and that deep love that is inside of you. It's just been buried under a few layers, okay? So analyse the situation that you feel unloved and unwanted in and put into actionable steps. So you can make a list and put into actionable steps that you can take in order that you reverse this feeling and call it out for what it is. It's a lie. You are not unloved and you are not unwanted. Some people may have treated you that way, but you are not unloved and unwanted by the entire world at all. It's not true. We do love you, and you are here for a purpose. There is a reason, and it is unfolding. So I looked for a couple of things that we could do online as well. There's an app called Posify. It's Pozify. And it's actually, from what I've read, I haven't used it, but from what I've read, it's when you take positive actions on social media, you gain points and you can win lots of prizes and things like that as well. So if you're having a really hard time, get on this app and engage positively on social media, and then you'll actually win stuff as well. I thought that was pretty neat. But what it'll do is get you into the habit of bringing out the kindness and compassion that does live in you, and you use it with other people, and then you begin to be able to see and experience that it is there inside of you. You just haven't known how to make it break free. Let it break free. And it works in group too. When we're in group, we are each other's greatest cheer squad, and then we begin to understand that we can cheer ourselves on too. It's everything that we do with complex PTSD recovery to remission is so experiential. And that means that until we have the experience, it's hard to absorb internally what that means for us, okay? And that's why it's so different for each of us, because we each have an internal dialogue running that can be similar but not the same to many other people. So the outer experience can be similar, but what we took on individually can be very different. Okay, make alarms on your phone, even if it's once or twice a day, to stop and build an awareness of, have you got your inner critic running? Have you given yourself a pep talk about, you can do this. I am able to manage this, and I am able to work out what steps I need to take to turn this around. And it takes time to retrain ourselves to make things manageable, but it is absolutely doable. So that, in a way, if you set your alarms on your phone, put it down, I'm checking my positivity today. And it's not positivity as in changing thoughts. That's part of it. But the positivity is that internal dialogue. What am I saying to myself, and am I believing in my ability as an adult to overcome this? And that's that's a question that we can ask ourselves every day. And if we ask ourselves, then we're going to say, right, I don't feel I'm managing this right now, but I can learn how to manage this, and I can reach out for resources to manage this as well. Okay, I know that's a lot to take in this morning, but I hope that you take one thing, even if it's to put one alarm on your phone every day and do an internal check and say, okay, what's happening for me with my internal dialogue? Am I giving myself a hard time? Do I need to change that up? Am I believing in myself and my ability to manage this? And go from there. And you can use those two questions to journal at night as well. Okay, thanks for joining in today. Have the most gorgeous day in the Northern Hemisphere, the most wonderful day in Australia with the public holiday. And I will see you again tomorrow morning. Bye for now.